guys, welcome back to my channel. So if you guys saw my labor and delivery video, you guys know why I'm making this video by the title of the video, of course. But if you haven't watched it, I'm going to be leaving it linked down below so you guys can go watch it and then come back to this video so you know what I'm talking about. Basically, my pregnancy was really hard. When I found out I was pregnant, I was 5 weeks. I found out I was pregnant May 21st. When I started bleeding and was at the hospital was June 13th, and I'll put a video right here of my boyfriend and us at the hospital. I found out I was bleeding. They told me that I had a higher risk of having a miscarriage because my placenta was bleeding. I don't know if I already mentioned that. My placenta was bleeding. There was nothing they could do. It was up to the baby if she wanted to stay or not. So I just was discharged and told me to be on bed rest, and I had to leave my job. Basically had to quit my job. I was in bed rest and I just let it happen, whatever wanted to happen. Either if she wanted to miscarriage or she wanted to stay in my belly, that was up to her. And I thank God that she decided to stay, because that was not up to me, it was up to her. Following up to my second appointment, I went into my ultrasound, everything seemed great. My second appointment, which was in September 9th, which was my anatomy scan, I went in, they did her measurements and everything, and a nurse came in. She did my ultrasound, she measured her, and then she said, a doctor's gonna come in here and talk to you. I didn't think anything of it, but I was kind of like, what's going on? This is kind of weird. I stayed calm and I waited for the doctor to come in. She comes in and her face just doesn't look good, and I'm getting nervous at that point. And she tells me the baby's not growing. From the first time we measured her to this time and the weeks that you are, she's not measuring her size. It was a certain amount of weeks and she was not the size that she needed to be for those for the amount of weeks that I had. I immediately went into shock and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I'm a first-time mom, so to me it was just like, what do I do? What do I ask? She said she was only at the 2nd percentile compared to the 99th percentile, which that seems like a long way. From the 2nd percentile to the 99th or 100th percentile, that's super far along. I didn't understand anything. Like I said, I'm a first-time mom. I didn't tell anybody. Once I got out of there, I called my boyfriend and I told him the baby wasn't growing. Prior to that, I would throw up constantly. My first and half of my second trimester, I would throw up constantly. I could not eat. I was in bed all day. I could not get up. It was just chaos. I could not get out of bed. Anything they would give me, I would throw up. I would throw up water. I lost 40 pounds. I was 160 pounds or 70 pounds, around there. But I went to 130. I went down to 130. So I lost about 40 to 35 pounds, around there. And I only gained 5 pounds throughout my whole pregnancy. When I gave birth to her, I was 130. No, I think I gained 10 pounds. 145, 142, around there. So I didn't gain much weight. So the weeks went on and they said you need to come more often. At 28 weeks, when I turned 28 weeks, I started going to the hospital every single week. And I will play a picture, or I will play a video of me of every week so you guys can see her little transformation, I guess you can say. Sometimes I wouldn't get pictures. But I do want to say I went to the hospital. It was a hospital because my doctor and my ultrasound was completely different hospitals and clinics. So I went into that hospital every single week for 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. For 9 weeks, I went to the hospital every single day. It was either on Mondays or Thursdays, I believe. Yeah. So every week I would go. My last 3 weeks which was 35, 36, and 37. Those last 3 weeks I had to be getting monitored. Like I said, the last 3 weeks I was getting monitored where they were measuring how she was doing, her movements, contractions, anything like that. They were monitoring that. So throughout time she didn't grow much. December 23rd was the last time I went to the hospital. The doctor told me, you're getting induced next week. I sat there and I was like, wait, what? I said, I have an appointment next week on the 31st. She said, yeah, you won't be coming anymore. You'll be in the hospital getting induced. And she said, the baby's not growing. There's no growth. She's only 3 pounds. I was already 37 weeks, two more weeks. She said the baby's only 3 pounds. There might be a high chance that she will have to go into the NICU. At that point I started crying and I thought to myself, I can't imagine a 3-pound baby. How small is that? That's tiny. I couldn't imagine that. I went home and I called my boyfriend on my way home and I told him I'm getting induced next week. He said, why, if the baby's not growing, shouldn't she stay longer in there, like her full term? And I was like, I'm not the doctor. I don't know why. I believe the 28th, yes, I think the 28th was when I went into my actual doctor and he spoke to me and he said, the doctor at the ultrasound, I had 2 doctors. The doctor at the ultrasound recommends we induce you. The baby is not growing and it's only gonna harm her more staying inside of you rather than her be born and grow outside. I blame myself so many times and this makes me cry because I always told my boyfriend, it's my fault she's not growing. I don't eat. I couldn't eat. I was scared to eat. He told me that it was actually a condition where people are scared to eat because of the fear of throwing up. And I had that. I just didn't want to accept it. They gave me pills. Nauseous, that did not help me. They gave me another dose. It did not help me either. Nothing helped me. I just constantly would throw up and throw up and throw up, and I would blame myself every single day. And I remember every single day I would go into the hospital for my ultrasounds because my ultrasounds were at a hospital. I would pray before going into the ultrasound because I had measurements every 2 weeks. So every week I would go. I went for nine weeks straight, but it was 1 week just look at her, 2nd week measurements, 3rd week just look at her, 4th, and so on and so forth. So every week that she had measurements, I would pray that she was okay. I would pray that she was growing. But every time I went in there, it was just nowhere near good news. It was the same thing over and over, that she was only growing a tiny bit, but she wasn't growing how she was supposed to. Further along, I was induced. I went into the hospital the 30th. I gave birth to her the 31st at 12:24 p.m. in the morning. She was actually not 3 pounds, thank God. She was 5 pounds 4 ounces. She was still tiny. She was still small, but I thank God she wasn't 3 pounds. But I needed to be induced because she was not growing. They didn't know what was wrong with me. They didn't know if I had a condition. They couldn't tell. The only way they were going to be able to tell was by sticking a long needle, and I'll try to look for it right here and post you guys a picture. It's a long needle that goes in through your belly button down into them and takes liquid out to be get a little bit of liquid out of them and run test. I didn't do that because the risks of having a miscarriage were up there, and her being small was even worse. There was even a higher risk of me having a miscarriage because she was small. So I decided not to run those tests, and I said, God, do whatever you want. If it's gonna be that she's gonna be small, just please help me or grow outside or whatever the case is. And the worst thing was, they told me that her being so small and me getting induced at 37 weeks meant I could give birth and have a stillborn. It was horrible. She's my biggest blessing, but it was horrible having to know that you're gonna give birth, but you don't know if she's gonna be alive or pass away a couple hours later. It was just scary, but thank God it gave me the strength, and everything was great when I was giving birth. Her oxygen levels were going down. I guess my body was just going through so much that her oxygen levels were going down, so I had to get put on oxygen. But after I gave birth to her, things didn't stop. She was a small baby, of course. I pushed for 30 minutes. I basically started pushing like around 11:59, and by or around there, if 11:50, by 12:24 she was already out. I pushed too fast. I didn't get to squish out all the acid reflux, I believe that's what it's called, inside of her tummy. And she would not keep her food down. She lost weight. She went down to 4 pounds at the hospital. Every milk they would bring, she would just throw it up. The first night I did not sleep. I let my boyfriend sleep, and I stayed up because she would just throw up and choke. The second day she continued to do the same. I tried to breastfeed. I would not get any milk supply. Other than I had not gotten any rest, that wasn't helping me. I needed to rest in order to produce milk. I was just exhausted, stressed out, and that was causing me not to produce milk, and that was what could help her start gaining weight. I would feed her and she would not eat at all. All she would eat was like 10 milliliters, which, I mean, that's nothing, and she would throw it up. I believe the third day we're gonna go home, and they came to us and said, you guys can't take her home. She's lost an insane amount of weight, and she isn't doing good. Ended up that she had jaundice, which it's totally normal for babies to get jaundice. But like I said, I'm a first-time mom. I literally would cry for anything. They put her under a little light, which is honestly fine. I wouldn't have mind her being there. I wasn't supposed to be taking her out for, I couldn't take her out for more than 30 minutes, which, I mean, it's not painful for her, it's for her, it was for her own good. But the fact that she was in there and she was just throwing up, and she had to be laying on her back. She had to have some little glasses, and I actually have a picture, so I'll put it right here. She had to have little glasses because the LED light couldn't hit her eyes. But the problem was that she would throw up, she would choke, and I felt like there was no way of me helping her. It was every 5 minutes she would throw up, every 2 minutes. It was constantly. Me and my boyfriend didn't sleep that whole night, and we couldn't take her out for more than 30 minutes. So you guys can only imagine having to see your baby under that light. You can't take her out for more than 30 minutes, and she's just constantly throwing up. She used to how do you say, let us know she was gonna throw up, but at the end she was just so tired of throwing up, she was so exhausted of throwing up, that she was just laying back, and she would just, like, she just sounded like that, and she would just start throwing up. I was standing next to her throughout the whole night, throughout the whole day. I did not sleep. We thought the next day we were gonna take her home, and they said no, she's lost more weight and her jaundice is not gone. So that went downhill. You know, having to know that your baby is not growing, and then adding on to when she's born, more things went wrong after. That day they took her to the NICU. Tried not to cry because I wanted to be strong, and I didn't want to cry. And she was okay, she had just lost weight, but at that point I felt like such a bad mother. I couldn't help her grow. And I always blame myself. She was losing weight, everything was just going downhill. I remember a whole team, it was like 5 or 6 nurses came into the room and said, we'll take good care of her. And to me that felt so horrible. Obviously they're nurses, but I thought to myself, they're not gonna take care of her like I do. At that point I was just going crazy. They took her down to the NICU, and they said, you guys, you're going to be discharged. Because of COVID, you guys are not allowed to stay here. You're allowed to go see her, but you're not allowed to stay here. We live about 30-35 minutes from the hospital, so coming home was just something we didn't want to do. My boyfriend started crying and was devastated, and we gave her a kiss, and they took her, they put her in the little clothes thing, and it felt so horrible. And I know there's other mothers that have to see their kids in the NICU for longer, but that broke my heart. Just seeing her in that little closed cage, or the little thing, was just so scary to me. I pray to God that she could go back home with us the next day, on the 4th day. Eventually we had to leave the hospital. There was no more rooms for us to stay in because of COVID. There were so many people getting induced, and so people having babies, and we couldn't stay with the room. Our doctor tried to give us the room, but we just couldn't keep the room. I remember getting my stuff, picking everything up, and her little blanket, everything smelled like her. I would see my boyfriend, and he would say, why did they have to take her? Why? It felt like they had just taken something huge, like a big part of us. She is a big part of us. And I said everything's gonna be okay. I try to stay strong because I didn't want to cry. I wanted to stay strong. I couldn't break down. It couldn't be two of us breaking down. So I told him everything's gonna be okay. We'll get her tomorrow. We packed everything up. I changed and we went downstairs to go see her. I'll post a picture right here. They had a little sign with her name, which I totally forgot to bring. I was just so exhausted. I was ready to come home. Had gone through so much. I just wanted to come home. I wanted her to be okay, and it was just scary. We went down to the NICU. We saw her. We holded her. And we wanted to stay there, but unfortunately we couldn't because of COVID regulations. It was crazy. It's something I do not, like I said, do not wish upon my worst enemy. Other than being a first-time mom, it's hard to see your baby with all these wires all over her little chest, her head full of wires, plugged into machines, noises coming out of the machine. Just horrible. I don't ever wish that upon my worst enemy. And it's just crazy everything I had to go through, and I always made sure I took pictures. My belly wasn't big because also my baby didn't grow much, but I tried to enjoy my pregnancy even though I knew I was going through so much. I knew every time I went to the hospital I would not get good news, and it was just a lot that I went through. And it's still hard to talk about it because I go back to those days where I would sit in a chair and be monitored. And, you know, every time I went into the ultrasound, I would pray that she was bigger and stronger. And it just kept getting bad news after bad news after bad news. Thank God that my baby girl is now 3 months and she is growing. She is getting bigger by the day. I know other mothers have to go through worse, but to me this felt horrible. It was just so much on me. It's just crazy to think that, you know, there's nothing you can do to help the baby girl. I tried eating, I tried doing everything the doctor and nurses and everybody told me, but it just actually just didn't seem to help. But like I said, thank God she is doing great. She's growing. She's such a happy baby. She's always smiling, and that's all that matters. But yeah, this is my story of why I had to get induced at 37 weeks. I know it's not common, but usually they tell you you're supposed to be at 39 weeks, but obviously there was a problem with my baby, and that's why I had to get induced. So yeah, hopefully you guys understand me, and I don't ever wish this upon anybody. God is great. That is all I have to say. I thank him every single day for blessing me with a beautiful baby girl, and going through everything I went through was worth it. I have her now, and I am just really scared to ever have another baby because of what I went through with her. If you guys like this video, don't forget to subscribe, comment down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys like my story. I know to me it's super sad and I still cry to this day, but there's other people that have to go through worse. But to all those mommies out there, I hope you guys give birth to a beautiful, healthy baby. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.